Now that you created your basic web form, you may want to spend a little time to make it look pretty, adjusting the look of it so it makes it easier to enter the data in the form, whether it's somebody outside the organization, an anonymous person, or its staff. So let's take a look at an existing form. I'm going to go to Administer, Drupal Administration, and go to Content. And we're going to edit, take a look at a form that we created. It was an intake form. It's meant for staff, but that's okay. It's still the same concept. I'm going to edit this form. And right now, if I took a look at view, it's sort of, it's all over the place yet. There's still things that can be done. I can make this easier for somebody to enter the data. So let's take a look first at the web form. We go to the web form tab. This is where you can go ahead and edit and move things around and change values, change labels, group fields together. You can make it really, really nice. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've already decided which fields are required. That's usually the first thing I do. So I've already checked off the ones that are required. I'm good, and I had saved. Now I'm going to move the information around a little bit so it makes more sense. So I have under the contact, these things are sort of grouped together. I have the contact information. So I want to probably move the state before the postal code. I may want to get the phone number before I even get the street address because there's certain contact information I want to get first. And once you start moving things, finish doing your move, click save before you move on. So I'm going to just continue doing this moving around. And right now I'm going to move this. This is just standing alone. I had moved, this had the pronouns field in it. And now this is just sort of hanging out there. So I'm just going to drop this down to the bottom. And then there's all this stuff about assistance needed. I think for flow, I like to, if this is an intake, at first I want to get information about what they're impacted by. And then maybe I want to start to decide and think about the kind of assistance that they need. And I may adjust this some more. So right now I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm going to hit save and take a look at what I have right now. So I moved the dates up top. So it's sort of organized the way I want it. But now there's some things here to make it easier, like state. Maybe I'm only dealing in one state. So for less data entry, I can default it to the state I want. Maybe it's North Carolina. I want to change some labels. So I'm going to do a little bit more work here. I'm going to go back to web form. And here we're going to fix a few things. I'm going to go and just show you we can change labels, right? For example, let's say you have bilingual staff or it's a bilingual form. Either way, I can just go ahead and edit and change a label just by clicking. I clicked edit next to that label, and maybe I say, put it in Spanish. Hit save, and maybe again you can go through, and I'll just do one more here. I'll change this label for last name and hit save. And same thing here in your state province. Maybe it's easier just to say state. And here in this field, I can default the field. So I'm not only am I changing the label, I now can default this field to North Carolina. That's because the state I'm going to be using, that's mostly what they're going to enter. So because I want a full address, I want to default that. So I'm going to probably change that also for the employer organization and do the same thing here. So I'm going to change this state. I'm just going to call it state. Again, you can make this bilingual. You can change it. I'm going to go to North Carolina. Save. So I'm going to go through and just take a look at a few things here. So that is that gives you some idea. Again, if I just click on view, you can see now it's got bilingual for a couple of the fields. You can change all of this. The other thing I may want to change now or some values. Like, for example, this preferred language, we really can only offer English and Spanish. So I want to only do the English and Spanish. If the issue impacted by options here, like really for this form, I don't really want to offer the factory farm stuff. We're only going to talk about these other labor wildfires. We're going to talk about this other stuff. So because this is like multi-use, I'm going to just not offer the factory farm stuff. We're not going to, for this particular one, we're not going to deal with factory farms. Maybe I want to show some of these fields in a different way. So I'm going to go and do some editing there. So I'm going to go to web form. And let's take a look at the preferred language, right? The first one there, the preferred language. Let's go and edit that. And just to show you how you can edit what values you want to offer, I can just go take a look. You can see this was defined in PowerBase. There's a preferred language field that you could use, and so I had exposed that in this web form. If I leave it as if I choose static options, I can configure this. So I'm going to just uncheck this and only check the ones I want to make available. And then I can change the label for those by going like that. Just change it to English and Spanish and keep it simple. So when they're in there, they can just see, if I go to view, now you can see they can just choose Spanish, English or Spanish, right? I can even change that if I don't want it to, because there's only two. I can change it down to maybe just showing the radio buttons, right? Instead of a drop-down list for two. So I can edit that also. And if you look down here, you see where it says list box? If I uncheck it, it's going to change. And so let's take a look at what it looks like when I uncheck that. And if I go to view, because it's set up to pick one or the other, it's going to be set as a radio button. So there's one way of, it just makes it easier so they know what they're looking at. If they're talking, I just need to know what the question is going to be. I'm going to also go and fix those the issues area there. I'm going to go down to the issue area. So what are they impacted by? And again, I can change the question. So there's questions I can change to say what issues are they impacted by? What issues are they impacted by, right? So that may be the question that you want them. You're creating the question for the person. And here I'm going to go to static options so I can configure it. I'm only going to show these. So I'm just going to pick the ones I want. And note I can also move things around. I can move like wildfires down before there, move the eviction up. So you could move these in a way, whatever you feel like you want to prioritize. And then I'm going to hit save. So if I go to view, that's how you change what you want to offer for issues. So I could just select it. Now you can see only those show up. The factory farm does it, and then they can pick what they want. So that's how you change those fields, the labels. But maybe I want to do just a little bit more. We've talked about default values. We've had to change the options in there. But maybe now I want to group things a little better so it's easy for a person who's looking at this to organize the data and see it better. So I'm just going to show you how I can group fields together. Right now they're sitting in boxes, which is sort of cool because it puts the contact information together. Let's say I want to separate the issue area with the assistance area, and then the comments I just want not in a box at all. I want it sitting by itself. The way this works, if we take a look at Webform, notice that if it's indented, they're going to sit, like, see this contact info? It's indented like this. That's why it's in that box. And notice that contact area is set up as a field set, right? Same thing with this other area. So what I'm going to do is, let's say I don't want comments to be out. I want comments to be outside of a box by itself. This could be comments that the organizer or the staff person could enter. So if I hit save, you can see if I move it out, it will no longer be in that box. It's just by itself. They can add additional comments. But I want to split this area up a little bit to make it easier to see that there's different things I want to, that there's sort of different areas of information for the person to think about when they're talking to the person. So I'm actually going to create, you could leave these are already in a box called activity. Maybe I will, I may just call this area issue impacts, right? I can leave it like that. And then I can create another field set. So right now you can see I changed that box area. Instead of, it used to be called activity, now I'm calling issue impacts. And I want another area for assistance needs, because it's something the staff have to think about, what should we be providing. So I'm going to go back to the web form. Now this is where you can sort of create some things in here. If I want to create another field set for just another boxed area, I can go here and call this, I'm going to call it assistance needed info. And here I'm just going to call it a field set. I'm going to add it. What I'm going to do, and just leave it like that, it's just a label, right? That's, you're going to be able to put information inside it. And I'm going to just grab it on top of here. I'm going to try to move it. Actually, I'm going to move it here, and then I'm going to drop these underneath it. So I just moved it around. I'm going to click save. And that's how you could group things together in the database, right? So you can group things together. That makes it sort of nice and easy that way. So it's just a way of organizing that data, organize it in boxes if that's what you want to do. The other thing I may want to do is, like, I need to hide this constituent. This was just another field set of a custom data set that got exposed when I added the pronouns. I don't want to show this, so I can hide it. So I can actually go into the web form again, and I can go in and just go to that area. And you can see if I scroll down, if I could just hide the label. Private just means like they can't do anything with it. Sometimes I just add that for extra fun. And then if I view, you can see it's gone, right? It's just, there's just a little blue area. It's fine. And so now it's a little more interesting to look at, a little bit more organized in this way, right? So you can make things really nice. You can also, for some of these labels, these field set labels, you could bold them. I'm just going to show you one way of doing that. I can just go in here. If you want that a bolded area, I could just go and you use these other kinds of markup languages. If I just do this, and all that's going to do is bold it. So if I did that right, and again, this is just the field set, just that field set. See, it looks bold, and then it just bolds it. That's all that does. There's other ways to create markup language. There'll be there's another screencast on how to create more text, but this is how you can do things. Let's do one more thing. It's called a conditional. So there is some information here, like there's an other, right? And maybe this issue other. So this really goes with that. So let's fix this. I'm going to go to web form. I'm going to go here and move this other. This really goes with that, right? So if somebody picks other, let me go and save that. So if somebody picks other, you may want to, if they had a different issue here and you picked other, you may want to enter information in there so you understand what that is, right? But in this case, like if they don't choose other, maybe we don't need to see this field, right? We don't want to show it at all. So what we can do is use this thing called conditional. So fields don't show up unless, based on some condition. Sometimes you need to group fields together in a field set so a group of fields don't show up. So you can do that as well. But I'm going to just do it with one field just so you can see what happens. I am going to go to web form, and there's this thing called conditionals. Now you just have to remember, what was that field? So I'm going to go here and I believe it was the issue field. So if the issue field, and so you have to look at it here, there it is. If the issue field, what are issues impact? If it says other, then the other one, the issue impacted by other description is shown. So let's take a look what that looks like. So I'm going to go to view, and now notice that that issue impacted other is no longer there. So if I click labor, it's not going to show. But if I click other, now that field shows, right? You can do this also with groups of fields, but if it's a group of fields, you need to put it in a field set, and then you would say if whatever the conditions is, you can say then that field set, the name of it, will be shown, and then all those fields in the set will show up. So you want to play with that a little bit. So those are basically some of the things you can do to make your form easier to use, easier to do data entry, easier to look at.